All right. We are live for this week's GMass office hours. It will start in about 5 minutes. My name is Sam. I'm recovering from an illness, so bear with me. I'm going to go up to the full hour, as much as I can do. And you know what? If there's questions, that will be the best medicine for this sort of the sickness that I've been feeling. Hopefully we'll get a lot of questions. If not, that's okay. We actually did have quite a few pre-submitted this week that people wanted answers to when they RSVP'd. So I'll be able to answer those. If we don't get a lot of live questions, it varies week to week. Some weeks we have a lot of people here asking a lot of questions. Some weeks we have almost nobody asking live questions, and I go to the ones that people pre-submitted. Either way, I'm happy to be here, happy to be answering all of your questions live for at least the next half hour, maybe even an hour. There's a few times we've even gone a little longer. Excuse me. Again, I'm just coming off of something, or through the end of something. I wouldn't say I'm over it yet, but I am working on it. So if you're joining us here, welcome in. If you're watching the recording of this later, hello. We'll be getting started in about 3 minutes. That is the top of the hour. It is 10 a.m. here when we start, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and much later elsewhere. I was in Europe a couple weeks ago, and I realized just how late office hours is there, but we're doing what we can. So, excuse me. Yes, I'm more than happy to really provide this service and hopefully get everybody what they need. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a weird error message from YouTube, which I've been getting lately, but I am not sure. It needs 1920 by 1080. Okay, well, we can work on that. We can work on that, Google, okay? It needs 1920 by 1080, so let's see. But it's half that on my screen. Anyway, this is behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't matter, and it seems to be streaming fine anyway. So we'll be getting started in 2 minutes. Welcome if you're just getting here. I'm going to be starting officially in 2 minutes at the top of the hour. You can go ahead right now. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I will answer them in the order they're received. That's how I run these office hours. Generally, I will address the chat from just sequentially down the chat for the questions there. And when there are no more questions in the chat, or if there are no initial questions in the chat, then I will go to the questions that people pre-submitted when they RSVP'd to these office hours. So I'm happy to do that, of course, but live questions are the best. We can go back and forth a little bit. I can do live demos of whatever you need to see in GMass, and hopefully that will be really handy to you as we try to figure out, how to fix whatever issues you might be having, or whatever questions you have, or to walk you through a feature, or to just explain if something is possible. I'm happy to do all of that here during the office hours, which will get started in about 1 minute. And again, if you're arriving, welcome, and you can go ahead and drop your questions in the chat, and I will answer them in the order they're received. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the questions that we received from the people who RSVP'd in advance, and I will go through those questions and give answers to those. So we'll be getting started in less than 1 minute here, and we'll formally get started. This is just the preamble of rambling that I like to do every week to give people a chance to settle in if they're coming, and just to have the stream live a little bit in advance. We have about 1 minute, less than 1 minute, and then we will be starting formally on this week's office hours for GMass. So happy to do this. It is July 25th, 2024. These are our weekly office hours. My name is Sam. I head up content at GMass, and it is, in fact, the top of the hour. So we're going to get started now. Once again, just a quick apology before we get started. I am working my way through an illness, so I am not at my 100% effervescence, but I will be as effervescent as I possibly can be as I work through these questions. So welcome to GMass Office Hours. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat if you have them, and I will be happy to respond to them. Just checking some messages right here. And let's see. Okay. Oh, yes. All right. We got a bunch of questions in the pre-RSVP, and I'm going to address those now. So the first question someone asked, and this is a 2-word question, but there's a lot to it, and I think I'm just going to extrapolate what they mean. They asked newsletter templates. All right, so GMass works inside Gmail. And as a result, it's really kind of defaults, and the way that people use it often sort of defaults to using it just in a basic, like plain text or sort of rich text way. In terms of like fancier layouts, HTML-based layouts, the kind that you see in, like, let's say, e-commerce brand newsletters or fancier newsletters. Gmail isn't super native to that. It is possible, but it's not the default behavior for Gmail. So with GMass, however, people have found that GMass is a great way to send newsletters. After all, it is a far more affordable solution. You have a lot more control. It does not, though, have what you might find in a MailChimp or one of those, which is the sort of drag and drop visual editor or anything like that. So in order to bring in newsletter templates, you're going to have to try one of a few different things. And in fact, the best thing I can do is show you this article that we rewrote a little while back. Not that one, not that one. Email templates for Gmail. Here we go. Sorry, we are very SEO friendly here. So this is an article I put together that basically shows you the four best ways to get a newsletter template into Gmail, which then means you can use it in GMass. So the first way is to, here's why GMass is great, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The first method is to write your own HTML code. Now, if you are savvy enough to write your own HTML code, you can do that here. You can use, standard. Now, keeping in mind that with email, often it still works better to use sort of the more basic HTML. That is like tables, which are fairly antiquated in web design, but are still fairly relevant in newsletter design. That's just because of cross-platform functionality, cross-platform compatibility, often using your more basic HTML here versus trying to do things like, using divs and spans and all of the more advanced HTML or HTML5 or anything like that. You're going to be best. And frankly, you're going to find it's fairly user-friendly. This is what users have come to expect from an email. They want it to work on their phone. They want it to work on their computer. You want it to work across all browsers. Excuse me, I have to cough again. Excuse me. So if you can write your own HTML, go for it. It's an easy way. And then I also show you here, if you want to insert images, you can still do that in the traditional way you would do with Gmail, which is inserting images. That's actually good for deliverability because you're inserting the images rather than linking to them at an external source. So here's an example of how I did it, and it shows you that, and then I look into the HTML, and it shows you how that is. And okay, one important thing that I neglected to mention is to actually get that HTML in, you come into the GMass settings, click on this little HTML right here, and then you paste in your HTML here. This is where you're going to edit HTML. You can't, through Gmail, just paste in raw HTML into the body. It's not going to render it. It doesn't work. But with GMass, we let you actually get behind the scenes and bring in your own HTML. So that's like a little hidden benefit of GMass that people don't even know. There are other ways to bring in HTML to Gmail, but that is a really easy way. So that's if you're going to write your own HTML template. The second way is you can use Google Workspace. Now, some accounts have this, some accounts don't. Let me see if this one still does. You know what? I don't even know if this account has that. Yeah, so for a minute there, Gmail was offering email templates inside of their window. They had these pre-populated templates. Unfortunately, I don't think it was very popular, and they removed it from many accounts. I think some Google Workspace accounts have that. I do believe I have it in my other ones. I don't want to switch browsers because it's a whole thing with the stream. But if you did, you would have a little button here. Let me show you in this article. You would have a little button here that would look like, a design. You can choose that, and then Gmail will actually give you an HTML layout. So then you can edit it. It's not the most editable thing unless you really get into the HTML. It's not amazing, but it is a very quick way to get HTML templates. So this is a chance for you, if you check out what you have in your Google Workspace account, you might have access to these templates. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is you can import HTML from a drag and drop builder. So let's say you like the idea of doing sort of a drag and drop email builder. There are some that are not tied to an email client, like, MailChimp has their own built-in, or Klaviyo has their own built-in. There are plenty of these that also exist just independent. And you could drag and drop and make emails, and then they let you export this. As you can see, they have a bunch of different export options. You can export it as HTML, AMP HTML, Gmail, whatever it may be. And then I did the you can use sometimes. You can try to connect your Gmail, see if it works there. Otherwise, you can just copy the HTML and paste it in, and then you'll have your template there. And the fourth way is to actually use a Chrome extension that brings sort of drag and drop functionality into Gmail. Now, there aren't that many of these, but I did find a few of them. So that's if you want to really do your building right inside of Gmail. So those are 4 ways that you can get newsletter templates in, and then with GMass, you can then send your campaign as normal, send it to your people. I know that I've personally worked with people who have come over from MailChimp and from other newsletter builders because those prices get very high with large lists. And the great thing about GMass is that's not the case. We don't charge you for users. So you can send to 1 million people. You'll need to use one of our techniques to break Gmail's limits to do so, but we're not going to charge you for having 1 million contacts. Whereas at MailChimp, that will run you in the a fortune. I don't even know, but I bet it adds up. So let's see what that would cost. Just MailChimp pricing. If you wanted to send to if you wanted to send your newsletter to 1 million people, let's say contacts. They only go up to 100,000. 100,000 is $800 a month. So I can only imagine if we extrapolate that out. So $8,000. Or GMass for $50. So, it's a better solution there. For large lists, of course, we're missing the drag and drop builder. But if you're willing to take the extra time, this will save you a fortune on your newsletter sending, a legitimate fortune. So it is something that a lot of people have done, and we are very, very welcoming to people who come over from there, from the traditional newsletter builders. And if you're sending opt-in emails, it's great. You can even apply to use our own SMTP server, which is a high deliverability SMTP server that you can then use to send your overages. And it will be significantly cheaper as you send your email newsletters and other email correspondence to your opt-in list through GMass. All right. No other live questions, so let me hit up another question that someone pre-submitted. I'm not sure what that one means, unfortunately, so I can't answer that. All right, let's do this one. Sorry, it is having trouble getting first name in greeting when checking sent email. Okay, so let's just talk about GMass's mail merge and the basics of mail merge. So as you know. With GMass, you connect a Google Sheet is the most common way to get contacts into a campaign. Let's check out who's in my demo sample group. Great. So this is a demo sample group, 6 email addresses, first names, etc. So let's connect this to a campaign. And then we'll talk about mail merge. So this is, let's see, we want our demo sample group. Let's connect to that spreadsheet. Now we have the 6 recipients. So as you probably know, when you want to mail merge one of your columns, in this spreadsheet, for instance, we had first name, business type, personalized message, date, and CC and BCC. You actually don't have to do those, but let's just say first name. If we want to do first name, like this person asked in their question, you can type a left curly brace, and then the options come up. Alternatively, you can come down here into the GMass settings, go to personalize, select field, first name. GMass copies that to clipboard. Now I can Control V and paste it in. So that's the very basic, right? Then we do have a couple of other features, though, around first names. For instance, let's say you didn't have everyone's first name in your spreadsheet and you wanted to use a fallback value. We delineate those using, oops, where did that draft go? We delineate those, closing all the stuff. All right, using a pipe. So that is the vertical line over here at the very far right edge of the keyboard, and then you can do your fallback value there. So this would say, hello first name, or if the first name wasn't in the Google Sheet, it would say hello there. We also have a feature in GMass where we can try to detect the person's first name. Now, we're not doing this by running the email through, excuse me, again, coming off of some sickness. Where we don't run the email through like a database or something. What we're doing here when we detect first names is we're examining the email address to see if we can find a first name. Now, in these email addresses, we likely wouldn't find a first name because these all say sample email. So there's no really good email. But let's say you had an email address that was something like Karen Jones 23 at, uber.com. GMass would be able to detect that this person's first name is probably Karen. And so it would use that. And so to do that, you use the auto first function, which is with a pipe. You can stack it in here. You can get rid of the fallback value. You can do auto hyphen first. And then GMass will automatically try to detect the first name. And then you can stack a third fallback. So if the first name is in the spreadsheet, it will use the first name. If not, it will try to detect the first name from the email address. And if both of those come up empty, then it will use the ultimate fallback value. So that's a really good way to get people's first names into your email campaigns. Very underrated feature, one that when people discover it, they really like using auto first. So that's how to do auto first. But for just basic mail merge from a first name from a Google Sheet where you have the first names, it's just the simple for the column name in the curly braces. So super easy. All right, let's find another one. All right, this is a long one, but it's basically about email validation. Okay, so as you may or may not know, GMass has a feature where it can validate email addresses before it sends each message. Now, this is a great built-in feature. This is free or included in GMass. And what we do here is turn it on by coming to the settings of a campaign, going to the advanced section, and checking the box for verify. It's that simple. And I can take you over to the blog post where we cover what this is. But basically, what we're doing is when you turn that on, we are just going to do a light check on whether this email address is okay. Now, there are some very expensive paid email validation services out there, and GMass is not quite doing everything those are doing. However, what we are looking for are things like malformed email addresses, email addresses without a registered MX server, email addresses where when we ping their mail server, we get a clear bounce message response that if we sent that message would bounce, a clear indication that the email address is invalid. So if the email address fails any of those checks, then GMass will not send the message to that email address. So it will suppress that automatically and skip you having the moment where you bounce an email, which of course can be bad for your deliverability. It's just non-ideal to be bouncing email addresses, right? So this is free email verification. Now, as we say in this article, there are fancy, and you can do it through the GMass API as well. Sorry, I neglected to mention that. Now, yes, it is really free for GMass users. We used to offer it as a free service for everyone uploading their lists. And then, as always happens, people can't have nice things. People abused the hell out of it. We ran into a lot of trouble, so we had to limit it to GMass customers only. This is the tragic side of trying to offer cool free services, is that people just can't resist. Anyway, as we said, the downsides, yes, one, it does slow down your sending, because GMass has to check each email address before it sends. Now, some people like to have slower sending. Some people actually will use our feature here in GMass where they're building in pauses between emails because they want to better simulate as if they are manually sending each email as sort of an alchemist's trick to maybe make Google think that these are manually being sent or whatever it may be. But either way, we can't speak to whether that's the delivery boon that you may think it may be, but some people swear by it. It can be useful. Some people really like doing it. Anyway, the email validation just kind of does that for you automatically. It kind of will add that pause in there as you're sending. Another downside is that we're not perfect. It is not 100% accurate. We are doing our absolute best with it. But again, this is a tricky service to build. There are very expensive other paid services where this is their only business, right? This all they do is all day long, all of their engineers, all of their product team, all of their company is focused on validating emails. That is not our case. We are GMass. We are an email sending platform. Validating emails is part of what we do, but it is just one add-on feature to our broader business. We're focused on making sure that you have all the features you need, getting your emails delivered into the inbox, helping figure out exactly what we can do to save you time, to get your campaigns built, to make this as easy as possible, to help you send more effective campaigns, analytics, all of that. So yes, a sliver of what we do is email verification. So that is a long way of saying that some of these services probably are providing, more in-depth checks. However, for free, and for, as we say, as AJ, who created this, GMass created this email validation, wrote, this is a pretty good service that will meet most people's needs. And I think that is a very honest and very accurate way to describe GMass's email verification service. If you are super duper duper hardcore, then yes, something may slip through the cracks, or there may be a false positive here and there. But if you are like most people, then this email verification service is going to save you the trouble of having to pay for a whole external service, and it's going to limit your bounces. So it is a really good thing for you to have. So that is email verification and email validation on GMass, built in. Really easy. One checkbox, and you get it. So super easy. All right. I don't know. This is a funny question. I'll just answer this one. What is GMass? All right, so I don't know how this person found their way into our email list or office hours, but GMass is an email platform that works inside of Gmail. So what it is GMass allows you to send mass emails, cold emails, email marketing campaigns, mail merges, to get to do email tracking, to verify emails, all of this, all inside of Gmail. So unlike pretty much any other email service platform you've ever used, which requires going to their website and creating emails there inside of their, their web interface and setting through there, GMass just works essentially on top of Gmail. And so that's why it's a Chrome extension that adds all these extra new features. However, when you're sending your email campaigns, you're sending them through your Gmail account. You're sending them through Gmail servers. They're essentially indistinguishable from individual Gmail messages you would send. And that's what GMass does. It adds all these extra email campaign, email marketing powers right there inside of Gmail. So that way, as you get used to it, it really slots into your workflow. So that way, we make it sending an email campaign, ideally, after you've used it for like a week, it becomes as easy as just sending a single email to someone. And that's what GMass is. It is an email marketing platform built inside of Gmail, and it transforms Gmail into an email marketing platform itself, which Gmail is not in its native form. So that's what GMass is. We are a small and powerful company. We've been around over 9 years at this point. We have over 300,000 active users who have left glowing reviews across the board. We have super high deliverability. We work very hard to make sure your emails make it to the inbox. And we help you break Gmail's limits as well. And we have really sophisticated systems to help you get around the daily sending limits that you run into in Gmail. And we're very affordable as well. So it's really all upside. It's a great product. There's a reason it's been so successful for so long. And so that's what GMass is. I highly recommend checking it out. Check out our website. You can learn more. Continue to ask questions in these office hours, and you'll find out more about what GMass is. All right, let's look at another question here. Yes. All right, let's do. How can I distinguish between server opens and real person opens on the GMass campaign report? Great question. Okay, so I'll give a little backstory for people who aren't familiar. So we're getting close to 2 years now. 2 years ago, Apple started this thing called Apple's Mail Privacy Protection. And what it was is Apple would kind of open every email before it got to you. Now, they're not technically opening, their robots are opening them. You're not seeing them. But Apple started this thing where they started opening your emails. And then other email clients, some, not all, but some also followed suit. And as a result, now there are a lot of false opens, right? So Apple is using its mail privacy protection, and they started it. Others have followed suit, but they're the big dog who are doing this. So what this means is Open rates, as reported, are often less accurate, or would seem to be less accurate, because they are now including all these fake robot opens. They're not actual real people who opened it. However, we in GMass are savvy to that. So what I want to take you through is how to distinguish them. And the best way to do that is in our web-based campaign report. So I'm going to open up the campaign report for this campaign. So this is the web-based campaign report. There are a number of different ways to arrive at this for your campaign. I went through the dashboard. You can also do it in your emails through some of the automations that we send you. Anyway, here in your campaign report, you see we have two fields here. We have open rate, and then we have open rate excluding Apple MPP. So what this is open rate is all your opens, right? Open rate excluding Apple MPP is where we've detected automatic opens by Apple and we remove them from your open rate. Now, this is not a great example because in this case, all 7 of my opens were from real email addresses. Here, this was a test campaign that I ran myself. However, had this been a larger scale campaign, you would see some difference between these numbers. This one would be higher than this one because this one excludes the Apple MPP opens. However, now about 2 years in, what we've observed is that the gulf between opens and opens with Apple MPP and the other privacy protection services is not as great as you'd think. Open rates are still pretty accurate. Now, they're not 100% accurate, again, because there are robots now opening your emails at various services. However, they are pretty accurate. What you can do here, too, with this little download icon, excuse me, is if you're just joining, I'm a little sick, so I'm doing this from off the injured list. So bear with me, please. Thank you. Thank you. What you're doing here, you can download just these, see your open rate without the Apple MPP, and then you can send a new campaign to those people, or you can have those specific information. But I think what you'll find is, as you get into larger scale campaigns, the difference between these numbers is not that great. I still find that open rates are more accurate than we thought they were going to be once Apple MPP rolled out. We thought it was the death of open rates. And in my personal experience, anecdotal from talking with so many GMass customers, and just from my sort of observations around the email industry, there's absolutely no real difference that I'm finding. Or not no real difference, but not this like mega difference where open rates are now completely useless. Open rates still have quite a bit of value. And so I know open rates are not the end all be all. Obviously, we are trying to optimize for either clicks or replies. Almost no one is just optimizing for opens. Some are, but rarely are people optimizing for opens. You're usually trying to get someone to take an action once they open. However, they can't take that action until they open. And so open rate can still be very useful. And then you can also use that as well if you're using segmented campaigns in GMass, where you pick a past campaign let me see if I have where you pick a past campaign and then you could send it to, say, people who didn't open. You can still feel pretty confident about this, right? You can still send to people who didn't open, and or any of these others, who did open, who didn't open, and send a follow-up campaign to them using GMass's segmented campaigns feature. So feel confident in your open rates, but we at GMass do like to just break the differences out for you so you can really see who are real opens and what are computerized opens. So hope that helps. All right, let me do a couple more questions that we wrap up. This one is all in Russian, so unfortunately I am not able to answer that one. We talked about, all right, let's do this one. Email marketing campaign, big list of contacts. Okay. Email marketing campaign, big list of contacts. So I'm going to go through the 2 ways that you can break Gmail's limits with GMass. So as you may or may not know, Gmail limits how many emails you can send on a daily basis. It's up to 500 a day for free gmail.com accounts and up to 2,000 a day for paid Google Workspace accounts. I say up to because that is the theoretical max that you'll be able to send through a Gmail account. However, somewhere inside of their algorithms, they've determined how many emails you can send, largely based on your reputation, your usual sending volume. It's why you could warm up to higher levels. However, with GMass, there are 2 ways to break those limits. So the first way is using a third-party SMTP server. So here in the GMass dashboard, come over to the settings and in the SMTP server. So here you could pick, you'll have to create an account at another SMTP service. So we have default information for some of the big ones: SendGrid, Mailgun, SMTP2Go, Sendinblue, Brevo, and Django SMTP. Right. So you could just put in your credentials there. You'll have signed up for an account at one of those. And then down here in Gmail limits, you'll tell GMass what to do when you hit your Gmail limit. GMass will detect you've hit your Gmail limit, and then it will decide what to do. You could tell it to ignore it. I'm not sure why. Or you can have it reroute to your SMTP server. Right? So then it would send like the first 2,000 through your Google Workspace account. And then if you were sending a 10,000 email campaign, it would send the remaining 8,000 through the SMTP service that you've hooked up here. You've registered for an account on a third-party SMTP service, and now you're using it here. If you don't have an SMTP service and you don't do anything, by default, GMass will just pause your campaign when you hit your limit, and 24 hours later, GMass will send some more. And then it will send those till it hits the limit. Pause, send some more. So we will help you send your 10,000 email campaign. However, it might take 6 days or 7 days, depending on your limits. You might want to send it all out in one day. That's when you would use the SMTP server. Now, something you see here is that my SMTP server is called SMTP GM. This is GMass's own in-house SMTP server. And what this is if you are sending opt-in emails, that is to say you are not sending cold emails, you are sending emails where people have opted in to be on your mailing list, you can apply to use GMass's own SMTP server, so you don't have to go through the trouble of registering your own SMTP server, getting your own account, doing all the configurations there. And you can then send your emails through our SMTP server. We keep it very high deliverability. We police it very carefully to make sure that its reputation stays high, that we keep spam off of it so that it can help get your messages delivered. And if you're sending email marketing, which I'm going to contrast with cold email is to people who would have a legitimate business interest in what you're selling or what you're offering, but don't necessarily know you, versus email marketing, which is opt-in, where people have explicitly said yes, they want to receive emails from you. You can apply to use GMass's SMTP server. Apply to use GMass in-house SMTP. You can apply here. You can apply. So we ask for email addresses. We ask how you've gathered your email addresses. Again, because we want to make sure that they are actually opt-in emails. We need to know what kind of emails you're going to send, newsletters, whatever it may be. We need to know how many people you think your average mailing will go to, and how frequently will you send a campaign. And then you submit that. We review your application manually. And if you pass, then you can use our SMTP server. We'll automatically add the credentials in here, and then you can send it. So you can send, and then if you've set your, you can say, once with Gmail's limits hit, reroute to the SMTP server. You can even send your entire campaigns through the SMTP server if you wanted to. If you want to skip Google servers entirely, we don't always recommend that, but you can actually use it down here. And in the campaign, once you have an SMTP server hooked up, you can choose to send with Gmail or send all of it through here. If you have Gmail, then it will send to Gmail till it hits the limit and then go over to the SMTP server. So that is one way that you could break Gmail's limits. Now let's cover the other way, which is inbox rotation. At GMass, we call it multi-send. And what inbox rotation is with inbox rotation, you can use multiple sending accounts with one main email account. So what you would do is, I have my main sending account here. This account has a GMass subscription. And then you can hook up additional sending accounts. Now, there are a few ways to do this, but I'm going to show you in the dashboard over here. In sending, manage multi-send accounts. So you just log in to other Gmail or Google Workspace accounts here to connect them to your account. So as you can see here, I have 4 additional sending accounts hooked up, and I have my one main account. Now, after I've created a campaign, I can come down here into Advanced and into Multi-Send. And I can select which of the other sending accounts I want to use to send. I can say how many emails I want to send from each one on a daily basis, whatever it may be. But the thing with multi-send accounts is now GMass will take your email, your campaign, and distribute it across those accounts. So let's go back, let's say, again, back to the 10,000 emails. So we have 5 accounts here. So rather than trying to send 10,000 emails through one account, through either sending some through Gmail and then moving over to the SMTP service, what would happen here is GMass would now, if you don't have any numbers here, it would then divide up the campaign evenly amongst these 5 accounts. So it would try to send 2,000 through each of these accounts. Now, it still might hit limits a little bit on a few of those because 2,000, remember, is the theoretical limit of what you can send, but it will send almost all your campaigns in one day and it will distribute them across the accounts. One of the great parts about this is that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket on one account. One account's reputation is not determining the entire stake of this. And it's a lot easier to warm up one of your accounts to have Google get used to it sending smaller volumes as opposed to sending mega volumes. Now, the last thing I'm going to cover is the cost. So there are costs associated with both of these. However, they are both extraordinarily reasonable. So in order to use multi-send, that's the inbox rotation, you have to be either on the professional level GMass plan. You can see here it comes with inbox rotation. These two do not. So that's $55 a month, or if you do it annually, it's $525 a month. It's $525 a year, which works out to about $43 a month. And or any team plans come with multi-send. So if you have a team account, that comes with multi-send. And so that's how you can use multi-send. For SMTP service, you can use any of these. However, there is a small charge based on overages, and it is $4 for every 10,000 emails you send, right? So it's just because of the extra strain on it's all the extra strain on the servers. It takes a little bit out of GMass even to send this high of a volume through SMTP servers. So it's a small charge. Again, it's going to be significantly less than any other way you could send that volume of emails. Just so you know, it is about as inexpensive as a way as you're going to find. However, there is that slight additional charge. All right. Well, again, I'm not feeling great. I haven't gotten any live questions. Those are the pre-submitted. Oh, nope. There we go. We did get a live question. All right. You got me at the end. Perfect. But I'm happy to do it. I love doing the live question. So Dan asked, sorry, I came in a bit late. We just signed up yesterday. Can we send 500 emails per day to start? Is that too much? If so, what's the max we can send? Well, so there is this concept of warming up an email address, right? And that is that you don't want to go from a Gmail account, especially one that's brand new, but even one you've had for a while, where you use it every day and you send 5 to 10 emails. Then one day, all of a sudden, you send 500 emails from that account. And not just 500 emails, but all 500 of those emails happen to be pretty identical to one another. That tends to be a little bit of a red flag to Google, because that's a sign that all of a sudden that is abnormal behavior. So what I would recommend is ramping up to that slowly if you can. Sending to, let's say, on your first day, if it's a established account, try sending an email on the first day to like 50 people. And of those 50, maybe make sure they're pretty good prospects, or even excuse me, mix in a few of your own email addresses or your friends' email addresses. So you know you'll get engagement on those emails. You know people will mark them as not spam. Because then if you've sent that 50 in that first day from an active Gmail account, and it's an increase in volume, but it's not a crazy increase in volume. So you've sent that 50, and Google sees, okay, they sent 50, but it got some engagement. People opened it, people replied. It seems like people wanted these. The next day, to try sending, you could even try sending 100 the next day. Again, and if you're seeing that engagement again, keep going up a little bit. I even, I'm a little aggressive on this, but doubling it each day, as long as you're getting engagement, as long as people are opening these, as long as people are replying to these, as long as people aren't marking them as spam, then you should be able to work your way up pretty quickly to being able to send the volume that you're looking to send. However, it is risky and it's hard when people, you obviously want to get in there, you want to just send your big blast the first day, and that is a bit risky to do. So especially with cold emails where opens are lower, replies are lower, click-throughs are lower. So I would recommend ramping up slowly on that front. Ramp up a little bit. If it's a brand new Gmail Google Workspace account, then you have to ramp up even more from the ground up. So then, what we do here at GMass when we want to internally warm up a new email address like that is we'll send it to, we have a list of all our staffs, all of our email addresses, our personal email addresses, other email addresses we've made up on a variety of services. We even have some on, Yahoo and Outlook.com and Proton Mail and various domains, pop servers, whatever it may be. And then we'll send a couple the first day. Make sure you can go in there, mark those not as spam, reply to one of them. The next day, do like 5 or 6. Same deal. Don't reply to all of them because that looks a little suspicious, but opening a few, replying to a few, and ramping up from there, ramping up gradually, just because you want to make sure that you've primed this email address a little bit before you start trying to send mega campaigns with it. So that's what I would recommend. However, if it is an active Gmail or Google Workspace account where you are sending pretty high volumes of emails, then you could, you can jump right into a bigger volume. But make sure, it's just that those weird spikes that are the big red flag. It's when an email address has existed for a long time and has never done this, and then all of a sudden is sending just a mass email blast. And that's the kind of like, all right, something's afoot here, that often can run you into trouble. So at GMass, of course, we do not offer an automated warm-up system. Google prohibits those. We used to offer one. Google told us to stop, so we stopped. Some other companies choose to still offer these for whatever reason. However, we do not offer it because one of the biggest things we do at GMass is we are really trying to ensure that everything we do is 100% legal according to Gmail and Google's policies. And automated warm-up systems where it's automatically sending these messages for you are not allowed. So we don't do that. We stay 100% on the good side. Using a third-party SMTP service, as I just described earlier, that's totally allowed. Sending mass emails the way we do, using mail merge, connecting Google Sheets, analytics, et cetera, all of this. This is all 100% allowed under Google's policies. They know about us. They like us. Google has recommended our extension themselves to people. We have a very good relationship with them, which is why we don't do the automated warm-up, which is why we recommend this manual way of just priming your email address a little bit that keeps you perfectly in Google's good graces without violating its policies, while also getting your email address ready to send higher volume campaigns. So that's what I would recommend if you're looking to send your email campaigns. Ramp up a little bit. And then once you get to those higher sending levels, then you can feel free to send. The most paranoid of people would say, well, once you start sending 500 a day, you need to send 500 every day. I don't prescribe to that. I haven't anecdotally found that that's the case. I have found that it's okay to not send 500 every single day, but to keep your sending volume pretty consistent. However, if you're sending, a big message here, once a week or whatever, I've found that works fine. So your mileage may vary again, but I would recommend ramping up and then getting your email address to that point. As long as you're getting engagement, Google is going to want to deliver those messages. Their goal is to get messages that people want into people's inbox and to get spam into spam. So if they see signs that your messages are messages that people want, and the signs are, of course, people opening them, people replying to them, people clicking on them, people marking them not as spam, these people not deleting them without opening them. These are things that Google really wants to see. So you know what? You do that, people engage with your messages, you can avoid spam. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. It's good to hear. Yes, I think that you'll again, I think that I will feel better. I think I'm on the recovery side of this nonsense, but yeah, I think that you can go ahead and try, and if you've sent higher volumes before, give it a shot. But again, you just want engagement on those, and you just want to make sure that you're sending to high engagement email addresses. And again, something I don't know if you were here earlier when I covered it, but GMass has this built-in email verification service that you could check for your campaigns, where GMass will check the email addresses before it sends to each one. This might be a good thing to have just so you can limit the number of bounces, because sending a bunch of emails that bounce can be a red flag as well. So verify your emails before you send. All right. Any other questions? Anyone else? Anyone? I'm happy to answer them. I have my full win. I took a bunch of medicine before this, so I am hot, fired up. But in lieu of that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you to everyone. We'll be here next week. Please continue to come by office hours. It is always great to have you. Happy to chat with you here. And if you have any other questions about your specific GMass case, you can always reach out to our support team and they'll be able to help you there, or check out the GMass blog where we really have covered everything in depth. You can see me during these office hours. I do a lot of just searching here in GMass or Googling GMass because really whatever your question may be, often if you just type it in here, it will send you to the answer. So good luck. Thank you for using GMass. Thank you for coming to office hours. And I look forward to seeing you next time.